So let's get started. My name's Dave Ashheim. I started this company, Give, Buy, Sell, about 10 years or so ago. We have a couple of different divisions here. One is focused on museums, which we call Guide, Buy, Sell, and we have another division that's focused on training solutions. But today it's all about fundraising, and we have two great speakers that will be helping guide us through the fundraising waters. These webinars are done about once or twice a month. They last about 30 minutes. We will post the slides and the webinar on our website, and you'll be able to reference it later. And it makes for a great way to kind of share information. Today we have, that's me, that's your moderator. And Sophia and Shana. Sophia, if you want to start and just give a little background on what does Bank Street do and what's your role there?
Sure. So I work at Bank Street College of Education, and we are a very interesting education institution. We have a graduate school of higher education, graduate school of education, a private, independent, but progressive children's school. And we also have like a research think tank as well. So we have many arms. And my role is I'm the managing director within our fundraising office. So I help manage the operations for the fundraising team, which serves the entire college.
Very good. And it sounds like a complicated job, like most of the jobs of the people on the call today. Shana, how about you? Tell us about Shalom Austin and what do you do there?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Shana. I am the Assistant Development Director at Shalom Austin, and we are the Jewish Federation here in Austin. We serve the Austin Jewish community as well as Israel and overseas arm that just provides support across the globe. So very excited to be a part of this organization. I manage our direct mail, e-solicitations, all of our community campaign, which is 1,000 and below donors, as well as manage our events, which I'm going to talk to you about in a little bit, and have a portfolio of wonderful donors as well that I get to steward and cultivate. So it's a very exciting position for me, and I'm happy to be here with y'all today.
And you get to live in Austin, which is not a bad place too. I know. It's a lot of good things. Well, I'm going to start with just telling everybody a little bit about the world of mobile and where we play in that space. And then we're going to dive in and show you screenshots of the dashboards for both of these ladies' accounts. And hopefully in the chat window, as I just noted in the chat window, please ask us a lot of questions because it's much more fun when you ask questions. So Give, Buy, Sell has been around for 7 years or so. We've got about 4,000 different nonprofit clients using us. Everything from screencasting and thermometers like what you're going to see today to text messaging and all kinds of other mobile services, from donating to texting. And I think that you'll find that if you dip your toe in the mobile water, that because people are much more accustomed to using their phones today than ever before, I don't think you're going to see much pushback from your donors. And we're going to ask Shana and Sophia that in particular. And so we've seen a huge uptick in the percent of people donating and the amount of money donated year over year. So if one client made X dollars last year, they're probably making 30 or 40% more every year. So clearly it's something for millennials and it's for people that have their phone and want to rely on their phone. The typical problems that we hear from clients when they come to us is they can't get people to carry a checkbook or write a check at these events. Checkout does take some time. When there's a big screen and there's a phone, there's a name on the screen, there's a lot of peer pressure. So having a little peer pressure is really good. And then calling donors after events sometimes is a little tricky and not always so successful. So if you can collect more donations by using people's phones, then that is a really good thing. 4 different things you can do. You can use thermometers, which Shana and Sophia have tried in different ways, and you'll see their examples. You can use a credit card donation form. And many of you are going to be getting an email from Julio. Julio is in our marketing department, and he's creating some demo accounts. So as fast as he can create these, you might be getting an email from him, or you could text in and try it on your own phone. And then there's pledging, where it's like a pledge card. I'm just going to text in, and then you can call folks. And then there's this text message service. So what we found, and I think our speakers will probably talk about this, is if you make it really easy, then mobile is a great way to help facilitate that. You get a keyword, you get a short code, people text in, and then they land on a donation page. So it is really super easy to do. And as I said, many of you should have received an email already. If you did, in the chat window, just let us know whether you received that email from Julio, who is creating quite a few little demos for everybody. So why don't we go right into it, and we'll talk to Sophia a little bit about what her experience is. Sophia, would you say you are an expert in technology or mobile?
Not a complete expert, but I know my way around it.
All right. When you came up with the idea of using mobile and fundraising, how did you come up with it? What kind of pushback did you see in the organization? And just you put yourself in the shoes of the 30 or 40 people listening to this who might be saying, I don't know if my organization's ready for this. So how did you pull this off?
Yeah, great question. So one of our main concerns is that our donor pool are a bit older, and this often, may not be the correct stereotype, but they may not be as technology friendly as some of the younger donors. So we actually got the recommendation from our board chair, who went to another event and saw the service being used and thought it was fabulous. The pushback originally came from me, believe it or not, because I was concerned about our donors and whether or not that would fit into our very tight program for our annual gala, which I also run. But we said, hey, why not? Let's try it. Let's see how it works. The worst that can happen is that it doesn't go well the first year. But we were really successful. We were happy with the implementation of it. And we did not receive any complaints during the evening. We did place some of our staff throughout the room, and we made an announcement to say, if you're having concerns or trouble with texting, raise your hand, and one of the staff members will come over and help. So I think that also put it at ease. But we also made sure to put it in our printed materials, exact instructions of how to use it. And I think another thing that was really helpful was keeping the keyword very simple. So for the past 2 years, our keyword has been teach.
Right.
Really
now, this screen that we're looking, or the slide we're looking at, describe the room, the situation, evening, day, lunch. What kind of paint a picture for us?
Yeah, sure. So this was our 2017 annual gala. We held it at Ellis Island in New York. And for this particular evening, we were focused on our TESOL program, which is Teachers of English Speakers of Second Language. I'm mumbling that, sorry. But we were developing a new program. And the room was full of our board members, friends, faculty, and everyone was inspired by the political climate that was going on during the time, if everyone can remember what was happening with immigrants, and it still is. So we were really pushing to create a program that would allow us to train teachers to go into public schools and even private schools and teach English as a second language.
How many people were in this particular event in the room?
About 300.
Okay. Danielle asked a question, Sophia, that said, what's kind of the demographic? Are these young teen 20 millennials, or are these people 40 to 70 years old?
This is more the 40 to 70-year-old group.
And were you then, sounds like you were one of the more concerned folks, more so than your director, coming in, that these 60, 70-year-olds might not adapt to this technology? And if so, was that founded, or how did you find people behaving during the evening when it was time to pull out their phone?
They loved it. They were really excited. They thought it was easy. And it was also a way to create some unexpected competition by having the screencast. So when you saw someone at your table, they also got more involved. It actually created a way for us to fundraise even more. So some of our strategies were like, so for example, a lot of our board members will buy a table and fill it with their friends. So we would connect with our board members or any table host during the evening and encourage them to encourage their guests. So there was a lot of strategy happening, but there wasn't much pushback. Everyone really enjoyed it. And to be safe, as a bit of a fail-safe, we did include some pledge cards on a table just in case there were one or two people who did not feel comfortable using the platform. They were still able to write in or leave a check. So we didn't exclude any option.
Did you receive many cards or checks?
No.
You didn't. So the default was use the phone.
Absolutely, yeah. They really liked it.
I hear a pushback every now and then from people that are holding these events where the tables are costing $5,000 or a big number, and they're reticent to offer even a way to donate at these events. And I've always thought, when a company or a person buys a table, there's 7 other people at the table that probably have not given. Sounds like that was part of your strategy to reach out to people that might have been guests of some of these folks that got that invited them.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's definitely a multi-pronged approach. So you have to first communicate that there is going to be a fundraising portion at your event, whether or not you can't assume that they know. So that was our first hurdle. The second one is being mindful that someone may have just paid $50,000 for a table. They may not be willing to give up an extra 10 during the fundraising portion. So you connect with them and leverage them to use their guest. So you have to be mindful of all those different pieces, but as long as you communicate ahead of time that this is happening, everyone seems fine with it.
And in your situation, did you have people actually click the donation link? In fact, let me just pull this up over here. Let's see if you can all see it. Can you see that,
yeah.
Sophia? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the dashboard that Sophia used on the Give by Cell platform. Did you find that people would click the link and then actually fill this out with their credit card information?
Yes. So this year in particular, I've had people come up to me while I was running the event to just confirm, like if there was an issue or anything, they were letting me know that they were putting the payments in real time. So that was great as well, because it does reduce the amount of follow-up you have to do later on.
Yep. We've got a question again from Daniela Goodwin about Square. Square is a fabulous service if you are having a physical connection to somebody where you can walk up to them and take their card and swipe it, kind of like Stripe and Square. This service is that you used allowed people not to even need to see a volunteer or someone on your staff. They didn't need to swipe anything. They could just enter their credit card number, and oftentimes it's being auto-populated. So it must have really made it a much faster experience to basically everybody's phone turns into a kind of a Square device when you've got this mobile interface.
Absolutely. And it definitely helps with time management. So for our events, like the most recent gala, we have a very strict time limit, or else we are charged additional money for overtime. So I'm sure everyone here who's part of a nonprofit, we're all about maximizing our budget and not overspending. So not having to have that one-on-one interaction was really helpful because it reduced our time. And we knew that we will follow up with our guests later on if the payment wasn't made.
Yeah. Angie's got a question, and I'll ask Shana this question to get her in the conversation. Any pushback, Shana, with people entering credit card information on a phone? And then Sophia will ask you that same question.
I didn't hear any feedback from anyone about security.
And were people donating $10 or 5 and 6 figures?
So for our event, we had donations ranging from $18 to $75,000. And what was great about Give by Sell for our event is that we had the opportunity for people to make a pledge or pay that night. And our organization really operates in a pledge world. And so we do get a lot of pledges early on in the year. And then we spend a lot of time at the end of the year trying to get the payments. But that was really important for this event, for people to be able to make their gift in real time, and to participate in what was happening live at the event.
Sophia, any pushback from people saying, ooh, I feel uncomfortable using my phone for a payment?
No, I didn't hear any pushback as well. Mm-mm.
You know, years ago, Angie, we heard that quite a bit. But I think today, people are using their phones to buy things on Amazon and tickets and on the web and airline tickets. And oftentimes when they come to these forms, I know on iPhone, it can autofill everything but the CSV. So I think it's just changing the way everybody is thinking about payment, and it's certainly changing it from checking to a credit card. So good to hear that there was no kind of pushback there. Few more slides here, Sophia, then we'll move over to Shana. Anything to talk about here, or is this kind of a repeat of the earlier slide?
It's a repeat, but I think it shows that people are engaged with each other and with the screencast. And we also found that it was helpful to use an MC or like an auctioneer to really help drive the crowd and push the donations up.
And you decided to actually show names, unless people wanted to go anonymous, and show them on the screen, which is fabulous. And I see that you made your $100,000 goal over here from 123 people. So it sounds like this was a nice event.
Yeah, it was a great event. Our strategy was that if we showed names, we could possibly shame people into giving a little more.
There you go. I love the shame part and the competition part. That plus free food and wine seems to raise the most money.
Absolutely.
Here's another picture that you sent. And if anybody wants to try this, go ahead and take out your phone and text TEACH to 56512. And Danielle asked a question about, is there a secure symbol? Go ahead and try that, Danielle, and everybody on the phone, text TEACH to 56512, and you'll land on the page, the Bank Street page. And of course, if you'd like to give $20, I think Sophia would be very happy with that too. Very happy with that. Make a little money here. So if the symbol doesn't show up, it can show up. Daniel, great questions. Teresa's got a question. All these questions are great, ladies and gentlemen, so keep them coming. Teresa, let's address this question over to Shana. Were these general fundraising appeals, or have either of you used this feature for a live or silent auction kind of thing? Shana, we're going to move over to how you've been using this, so maybe this is a good place to start. Have you been using mobile only for events or for other kinds of activities and uses throughout the year?
Sure. So the main reason why we decided to use Give by Sell was for our big fundraising event. Unfortunately, our website is not mobile friendly right now. We're in the middle of upgrading that. And so with 1,200 people in the room for our big fundraiser, I didn't want to take people to our website. I wanted them to go to a page that was very mobile friendly, like Give by Sell, so that they could easily participate at our event and make their gift or pledge. And so that was huge for us. We've also dabbled a little bit in some text messaging, pushing out a text message. I did a test with our people who received our appeal in April but hadn't responded, and we did a phone-a-thon in April called Super Sunday, and we texted a small segment of people who hadn't responded and said, support Shalom Austin by donating to the annual campaign today, and avoid being called on Super Sunday. Click below to make your gift. So we tried to tease it that if you made your gift via phone, that you wouldn't get a phone call from us that week. We had a few people respond. I think that, like Sophia said, it's new to our community also. And so I'm really trying to get people more on their mobile, and everyone uses their phones for all kinds of shopping all the time. I'm guilty of it as well. And so wanted to have that option for our guests and for our constituents throughout the year.
Angie's got a question, and I'll start, and if Shana or Sophia want to take it, great. How well does this application work in formats other than events? You know, it turns out that about 5 years ago, Angie, 90% of the use of Give, Buy, Sell was at events, just like what we saw with Sophia. But it's dropped to about 50% now. And I think why that is we have development directors telling us, if I'm having lunch with a big donor and they're willing to give me $5,000, I'm not going to have them go back to their office and click a link or write a check. I'm going to have them take out their phone while I'm at lunch and have them make a donation. And we have lots of boys and girls clubs and YMCAs and YWCAs that when they make their direct mail appeal, they're including a text now onto all of their printed material. Just because if I'm sitting on the couch and I get the direct mail piece, I don't want to go to my computer. I don't want to go to my checkbook. But if I could text in and get a link right to this page, like you see next to Shana's picture here, it just makes it so much easier. So we're finding that more and more organizations are putting the texting in Facebook, in Twitter, underneath their signature line, underneath on their business card, and they're giving that same information to big supporters and other employees. So I think that the common first use is at events, but it's really gravitating towards it's becoming such an easy way to get to the page to donate. And so many of the nonprofit donation pages are loaded with drop downs and how did you hear about us and all kinds of stuff. And we've learned over the last 10 years, if you don't make that interaction super fast, like 30 seconds, you're going to lose them. And so I think that's making it more compelling. Shana or Sophia, do you want to add anything to that?
I think you captured it. I haven't, we've only used it for events, but we are looking to expand going forward to see how else we can incorporate it.
Yeah. So, Daniel, I would say try it in direct mail pieces, put it on your website. I mean, you might say to yourself, why would I put this on my website? Why would I have text in if I could have a link? Well, if you're 30 years old and younger, like Julio, who's been sending out these demos, his common way, millennials' common way, is to send a text, go to a link on a phone, and do it. So certainly for the younger crowd, it is becoming quite efficient. The text number, Shana, talk a little bit about the short code. You were given a short code, and then you were given a keyword, and then you use that at all of your events, or you will be using that. So mechanically, how did that work?
So our event was called Ignite, and we wanted that to be our keyword. So people were there and they knew what it would be. And we put the keyword and the instructions in our program book. We had it on our slides around the room, and wanted it to be in everyone's face so that it was easy to do. What's interesting about our organization also is that you can see on the chairs, we had individualized pledge cards for everyone in addition to the texting option. We had a $100,000 matching gift that we announced at the event. And each pledge card had your matching gift starts here listed. And so we wanted people to open their pledge cards, look at the amount that we were asking them for, and then take out their phones to give. And that keyword made it really easy for everyone to go right on their phones and donate.
So they would look at this and they would get the short code and keyword, and then they would say, oh, I can either fill this out using pen and paper, or I can just text in and then it will show up on a screen.
Correct.
Yeah. And tell us about this screen. How did you decide to create it like this? And you didn't use the numbers on the screen. You wanted just names of people. How did you decide that?
So it's a very great question. Because of the match and because this event was different from Sophia's in that we didn't have sponsorships, people didn't purchase tables for our event. Every person who attended our event paid $55 to come, regardless of their wealth or their connection to our organization. The ticket price was the same for everyone. And the money that we raised that night was for our annual campaign. And we were able to raise $930,000 for our annual campaign in one evening. And so we weren't really sure what the number for the thermometer should have been. Should it be our 2.2 annual campaign goal? Should it be $100,000 because that's what the match was going to be? We didn't set a specific goal for the event, but we knew that after the event was over, we still had 7-8 months to raise the additional money to get to our annual goal. So we wanted to list the names. We didn't want to put the amounts on there because we were worried that if somebody could only give $36 or $50, they might not do it if that amount would be on there. And other people who gave $75,000 may not have wanted that amount on there either. So we left it pretty basic, but we did have all levels of donations come in. And I think that not having an amount was the right way to go because we did well exceed our goal of 100 and almost $1 million. So it was great.
So, and mobile certainly helped get the crowd excited. Did you also see that people had very little problems with using the phone, and there wasn't really a pushback on using the phone to get their pledge up on the screen?
It was very, very easy to use. One of the other things that I really love about Give by Cell is that there was no password needed for our donors. I know some other companies have that option or it's not an option. You have to add a password, sort of you're making an account. And that was an extra step that we were not interested in having our donors do. We wanted this to be very easy. You text in your name and your amount and you're done. And we were able to collect all these great gifts. So it was easy, very easy.
Here are just a few other examples of how you can create these screens. Just a few, and those will all be in the slides that we send. We heard a little bit about the ease of it. Did you, Sophia, use the dashboard very much for reports, or how did you, what was your, we'll go to the reports here, and we won't show all the detail because there's maybe some confidential information, but you can run reports for donation amount and attempted donation report amounts. How did you use some of these reports? Were you looking at them the night of or the following day?
We mostly looked at the reports the following day, and we were using it mainly to gather the information and upload it to our Raiser's Edge database to track all of our donations. And we also were mainly using the reports to see who made a pledge and who didn't follow through with the payment so that we can strategize around how many text reminders would go out, if this was someone that we needed to reach out directly or have one of our frontline fundraisers reach out. So that's how we were really looking at the data, just to double check everything.
Tell us a little bit about the text reminders. How did you use the text message reminders?
Oh, it was one of my favorite parts because it reduced a lot of work. What's important to know is that our fundraising team is really small. In total, it's about 14 people. So we are pretty much all hands on deck all the time. And so by allowing us to create text messages that will go out automatically, it was really helpful. So we just set it up to go out either like an hour after the program fundraising piece ended, and then the next day, and then also like the following week, just until we were able to finalize all donations. And then after a certain point, we would cut it off because we don't want to be annoying. We don't want to harass people with text messages. So we would take it to the next level, and then we would start calling them directly.
Right. We have a question from Carissa about, does this work outside of the U.S.? And the answer is the texting can be set up. Takes us maybe a day to set up a keyword in a different country, so that's not a problem. The screen, no problem, and the pledging, no problem. We just have to make sure that the credit card that a person uses in Australia or in the UK will interface with whatever merchant processor you've picked. So technically, no problem, and we would just have to check one thing. Okay, so let's show you the dashboard over here for Shalom. When you set this up, Shana, any problem with setting up this nice looking page that you've got here? And you also added a little video, which is pretty cool.
It was really easy to do, and any questions that I had, I was able to ask my account manager and get it figured out really quickly. But it's very user friendly, and I'm not very tech savvy, and I was able to do almost all of this by myself.
So you're not an IT wizard, but you were able to do it.
I'm not an IT wizard.
Okay, great. Any more questions for Shana or Sophia? I have a few more slides, one on pricing, but I thought as we get to the 30-minute mark here, we'll see if there's any more questions. While you're typing your questions, I'll show you what the pricing is. These services normally cost about $2,000 plus or minus for the year. In the month of June, for a trial, we have a $299 kind of starter kit. It's a skinny down version of what you've seen on the site today, but for some organizations that really are cash strapped, it might be a nice thing to give this service a try. So pricing normally a couple $1,000s a year, and we have a skinny down version for $299. So let us know if that's of interest. Sophia, any parting words to the folks that are on this call thinking, I wonder if I'm ready for this? And then I'll ask Shana the same question.
I would just say it's worth giving it a go and trying it out. I was pleasantly surprised by our results, and I think we have one of the most interesting donor populations. So if we can make it work, I think anybody can make it work.
I like that. Shana, anything you want to add? Sounds like you have an interesting population too, I bet.
We do. Technology is not that difficult for people to figure out, and it's definitely the right way to go. It's 2018, and every event and every direct mail and e-solicitation, it should be included in everything that you do. I highly recommend using it across the board.
All right. Well, we've got their email addresses, Sophia and Shana's email address here. Let me go back to that. And here is, I'll give you my email in a second. And I'm sure these ladies would love to help you raise more money as well. And I'm Dave at GiveBySal.com. And as I said, we will post this on our website tomorrow, as well as the slides. And I want to thank Shana and Sophia so much for doing so much good work in their community and raising more money and talking about mobile. So thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
All right. And this will end our session today about tips and tricks for mobile fundraising. Thanks very much, everybody.